Hey,
Hi, how are
how
you?
are you? Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Long day, very, very long day,
Yes,
but no complaints.
exactly. I feel the same way though. It's been a long day.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
been
like
a
I still.
really long day. I'm like in the midst of like wrapping up tax season for everyone who filed like corporate returns and just in general with just consultations. I don't know. It's been a day, but I'm
Yes,
happy to be here.
yes.
I'm
Thank
happy
you for
to be
taking out
here.
the. Thank you for taking out the time. I really appreciate it.
No, no
Thank you so
problem. No
much. Yes, and we still have to find
problem.
some time when things get a little better to meet up.
Yes,
because
yes, yes.
yes, because I really appreciate you supporting all of our endeavors. It's I'm really grateful for you.
Of
Really
course, of
grateful.
course.
Yes. So I know you are fresh off the tax season, like you just mentioned. So it's
I'm
definitely
still
a
in tax
perfect time.
season. I'm still
it's
in tax season.
I know it's definitely a perfect time to have this conversation with everybody. I'm just waving hello to everyone. Thank you for joining us, guys. So it's a perfect time to have these conversations. I know that you posted something really powerful the other day, and you were talking about how a lot of us couldn't take advantage of the small business loans that were offered, during this pandemic
Mhm.
because we didn't have our shit together. So,
Pretty much.
that's definitely
Pretty
important.
much.
Yes. So that's definitely important. And I think it's something that we need to talk about because it's so true.
Mhm.
A lot of us, try to evade taxes and not pay taxes. And that's why we don't file our taxes for our businesses. That's one of the reasons. So,
Mhm.
it's, as you can see during this time, that's not a great idea. So, so
Absolutely.
without further ado, I want you to introduce yourself for those who don't know you and tell them a little bit about you and what you do, and then we can get into it.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, I go by Miss Business. My name is Shaquana Brooks. I have my own tax and accounting firm, Brooks Alliance. We specialize, we work with small business owners, freelancers, influencers, real estate investors, just pretty much trying to help everyone navigate taxes. Taxes is so important, and not only just taxes, but how to get to live a tax-free or reduced tax liability life, right? Because it is more of a process. So within my firm, like we provide bookkeeping, business formation, payroll, tax preparation, tax planning. So, we do a lot, in Brooks Alliance to make sure that we're pretty much following you and helping you from the point of starting your business to the point of getting to the famous, which I always hear, I don't want to pay any taxes, right? But it's
Right.
a process to get there. So that's pretty much what I do.
Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's start with this unfortunate pandemic that we've been in and how
Mm-hmm.
all of our businesses, all of our small businesses have been affected. And I want to know I know that you, as soon as the first bill was passed throughout the pandemic, I know you sat down and you reviewed the entire thing. So I know you did your research, you did your homework.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us how you felt about that first bill that was passed, and if you thought that it was fair, and then we can go into the small businesses obtaining the loans.
I thought that the first bill was fair. What I will say is the thought that individuals are going to survive and be okay with you just giving them $1,200 is a joke, right?
Right.
However, I want to point out, and if no one has seen anything else within this pandemic, I want it to be very clear that the tax code, the America is going to be for business owners, right? Like tax code is for business owners. In order for you to build wealth, you need to be investing and you need to own a business. And this has shown everyone that. And I was having a conversation with a friend and I was like, if this was not a wake-up call for everyone to
Right.
really realize how much the government, I don't care if you're Democratic or Republican, does not care about people, right? Because to give someone $1,200 in, what was that, April, March? I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know.
Yeah.
But to give someone $1,200 and now it's October and they're like bickering back and forth on, you know, I feel like if they really cared, one, they would have given so much more. I heard in was in London, I believe, they were like getting paid, like rent paid, really, it was like allowance over there, right? And so it's just so different. And I just want this to be a wake-up call. And I am not a person that's going to be like, oh my God, for employees. No, it is what it is. It's the game, and either you're going to understand it and work to understand it and broaden your horizons, or you're not, right? And you're going to be left behind, because the tax code is never going to change. I don't care who's in office. There's always going to be some sort of incentives for business owners, for investors. The reality is, when the government wants a business owner or an investor, they want any person to do anything, the first thing they do is they give them a tax break to do it. They want low income housing, they're going to give you a tax break in order to generate low income housing. If they want whatever they want, they're going to generate a tax benefit for you to do that, right? And so I think people need to understand that and really realize that you have to understand that I'm a believer. I will always say not everyone is an entrepreneur, and I get that, and I totally understand that, but I do believe that everyone is an investor. Yes. Everyone has to be an investor. You have to invest in a business, invest in invest in stocks, invest in real estate, whatever. That the first bill, and when it comes to small business owners, I feel that the government, the SBA, they were extremely generous. They were extremely generous. Right. They were extreme, and a lot of things, that were provided, a lot of the grants and businesses. And I told this to a client today on a consultation. I said, prior to COVID, it was very, very difficult for people to get SBA loans. Right. It was like a unicorn. Like, right. How do you do that? I literally have hundreds of clients, almost 1,000 clients, and I could probably count on my two hands the amount of clients that actually obtain SBA loans. Why? One, it's a headache. It's a long process. Mm-hmm. And the amount of financials that you have to give them to prove that you can get a loan, they're not just throwing money at you, right. on a day-to-day. And so I definitely think that this was one of those times that we're going to look back and say, do you remember in 2020 when the SBA was like giving out $100,000? Right. And the only thing, you just really needed to have your business in order and your financials in order, but just the ease of it all. It's, it is, I think that this time was a great time for small business owners that had their stuff together. In terms of individuals, I don't ever see a time when individuals are winning, to be honest with you. And I don't think that this time was any different. So in terms of perks, I think the $1,200 was a joke. I think that all the business loans, the grants, I thought that they were amazing. And if done the right way, and, when I posted the message on my page the other day, there was one comment that I loved. And there was one person that said, Miss Business, what am I missing? Because I have everything together, but I didn't see why I wanted to position, like why I needed more debt. Mm-hmm. And I was like, thank you so much for saying, for asking this question. And she wasn't like downplaying it. She really was like, what am I missing? Like, why would I want to apply for a loan? Exactly. And so I simply broke it down to her for those, and I missed this part, but for those of you that don't know, I have a corporate background, worked in Big Four accounting firm. I first started out in mutual funds, then I switched over to real estate private equity. And when I was working on those real estate private equity deals, they would raise from investors $275 million at minimum. But then they would go out and get $500,000 of line of credit, and then they'll go out and get a loan for $200 million, right? So now they have all this. Now, the average person, how we're thinking, oh, we have to use our money. Oh, we have to use our resources that we make, our funds or profit from whatever we sell to get ahead. No, what they're saying is, just like any smart investor does, we're going to use OPA, OPM, other people's money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're basically saying, listen, we're going to use other people's money. Yes, we have this 275 million, but guess what? We're going to use this 275 million that we have to leverage it to say to the bank, listen, we have 275 million. Now we need a line of credit for 500 million. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And what is the bank going to do? The bank is going to give it to them. Right. Because it's all about leveraging and getting out of this mindset where we feel that we can't have debt and all debt is bad debt. I think that is a huge myth. And what I said to her in the comment was the SBA's interest rate was 3.75%
Yeah.
over 30 years. I don't suggest that anyone takes 30 years to pay it off because I did the math. It's basically like doubling the loan, right? However, you have a loan 3.75%. I'm sure whatever service you're providing, whatever product you're selling, you're going to profit over 3.75%. Right. So why wouldn't you take that money? One, you could have it for a couple of reasons. You could have it, one, because you need to grow your inventory. You may need to hire somebody. You may need to spend it on marketing. Whatever it is, it should be able to yield you way more than 3.75%. And the reality is, if whatever you're doing isn't yielding you 3.75%, you probably shouldn't be doing it. Right. So in my mind, why wouldn't you take that 3.75% interest rate? I mean, that loan for 3.75%, take it, invest it in something to then help you get ahead. And that's how people grow. That's how it works. If you just stay in the mindset of, oh, I'm going to take my money and I'm only going to use my money and that's it, then you're always going to be stuck in this rat race of trying to catch up. Yes. The idea is, whether it's an investor's money, whether it's the bank's money, no matter who it is, if you have money, you can then say, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to hire more people. Or, oh, I'm going to spend more money on marketing, right? Because that's exposure. I mean, that's a whole nother episode. And I know I'm not in marketing, but I find that marketing is one of the most undervalued things. Like, people will start a business, want to form it, want to put everything into their product packaging and everything, but then don't want to spend any money to let people know that their business exists, right? Like, that's key. But that's another story, and I'm not in marketing, but that's just my 2 cents, right?
But it's like you said, I don't mean to interrupt you. You know, not everyone is an entrepreneur, but everyone should be an investor, right?
Everyone.
So it's one of those things. If you don't know everything, then you hire someone to do it. And this is an opportunity to do that, right?
Absolutely.
Granted that your business is flourishing and you are making money to be able to pay it back. So yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, like, that's key. So, you know, to your question, I do believe that, you know, what was passed was great. They even extended PPP. I know with the next bill, they're going back and forth about this next bill, but the next bill is supposed to, again, give another $1,200 for individuals. Then they're going to, I don't know, there's so many talks around PPP, whether they're going to do a second round. Whoever got the PPP the first time, they'll then be eligible to get a second round. So that's an option. Or, you know, I don't know. They have a lot of different things, but the reality is they are trying to make efforts to bring PPP back, because what they're saying is 1 out of every 6 small businesses have, like, totally, like, just closed. Right. And like, even in New York here, it's, like, so sad. Like, I really feel like we are in I really feel like we're in a really bad time. I don't think a lot of people realize it because there's so much unemployment and, you know, so many business grants and loans flowing. But I don't think that people realize how bad it is when you're in New York City and, like, it's dead. Like, it's dead. Stores are boarded up. And I mean, we're in New York City, so you could imagine, like, you know, what it is other places. So, you know, I think that we're in a really bad place from an economic perspective. So I really feel that, you know, jobs are not what they were, right? People are letting people go. So many people were in retail. Retail is, you know, going. So my point is that you have to figure out, like, the job security. I know before it was a thing, right? I feel like you and I was having this conversation maybe, like, right when we had it right after, like, COVID was a thing and they released all this PPP stuff and EIDL stuff. But it really, like, now then it was like, okay, well, yeah, you can't really bank on job security. I feel like now you really can't bank on job security. Like, they are letting people go left and right, so it's crazy. And I think we're definitely in, a crazy time. But I think that everyone, like I said, you have to figure it out. I'm not the excuse person. I'm not going to baby you and be like, oh my God, you don't need to do anything, like, just work. No, you have to figure it out.
Yeah.
You have to figure out whether you're going to be an investor, if you're going to be a business owner, if you're going to hire someone to invest for you, because that's an option too. You don't have to try to do it yourself.
Exactly.
Like, you can have someone that may be going into a real estate deal or something, and you just may say, you know what, let me take some money and, invest with you, or even let me shadow you, let me learn. But you can't just sit back and just try to rely on, your job anymore, especially if your job isn't in an industry that's flourishing right now. That's the thing. Like, not everybody, wants to go out and have a business, and that's fine. But you have to at least connect yourself with another business where you're like, you know what, that industry I know is good, so I'm going to pair with that. And then also, in addition to that, I'm going to invest.
Exactly.
So that's
I mean, yes, it's all about leveraging what you currently have too, right? So again, back to investing. Invest in yourself, right? So if you're working in an office space and you have been one of the lucky ones to still be able to work during this pandemic, then use those funds to invest in yourself. Use those funds to start a business, or to start investing in a business, or in real estate, whatever it is that, you figure out that you're into. This is the best time. And this is actually has been happening for a while now, like you said, retail was already going down a sinkhole, so now this just made it worse, with this pandemic. There's a lot of companies that started going remote already a while ago. So now it's like a lot of remote.
It's like really stay home. Right. It's like stay home. Like, the real estate market in New York is like crazy. Yeah. Like, everyone's moving out of the city, right? Because they no longer have a reason to want to be here, because they don't have to work here. A lot of people are not even going into the office. So now they're going to the suburbs, buying houses. I mean, the housing market right now, it's like a bidding war, because everyone's like overpaying on properties. I don't know. We are in a special time. Yeah. That's all I can say. I know we're in a very special time.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's amazing. It's something that was so unexpected, but that's why we have people like you, that can help guide us, during these times, and kind of help us figure out, what the next steps are, and give us some ideas on, how to survive this time. So I wanted to touch a little bit on what we were talking about, taxes, and how this is pretty much a capitalistic country, right? So we don't really care about the people. We more so care about the money and numbers. And it's funny because recently I've been hearing people who are, minorities, or I don't like to use the word minorities, but who are Black and brown folk like us, talking about, well, maybe I should be leaning towards the Democratic direction. The Republican direction, because I don't want to pay taxes, because they give you, a tax break when you own property, or whatever the case is. So tell me a little bit about how you feel about that.
I feel that people should vote I think they should go with whoever. Like, I can't tell anyone, right, like, who to vote for, or what I feel is right and what I feel is wrong. I feel that everyone has their own interests. And if you feel that you don't want to vote for someone whose morals aren't in line with your morals, then you don't do that. If you feel, you know what, I don't care about that person's morals, Trump, I don't care about Trump's morals, but I don't want to pay higher taxes. That is that person's choice to make. So I necessarily don't, I don't really get too hung up, because honestly, from my standpoint, I feel like neither one of them have their best interest, and both of them are still money driven. It's just, who are you going to kind of appease to, right? Like, Are you, you know, like, so for me personally, I don't have a big like stance on like who people should vote on, and I try to leave politics out of it.
Yeah.
Just because I feel that everyone has their own reason, and whatever reason is important to you, then you have to, you know, go with that, right? And you got to kind of deal with it if it turns right or left on you, right? And so that's how I feel about, that's how I feel. I don't know. I just feel like politics, to be honest with you. I don't care if it's Democratic or Republican. When it comes to brown people, neither one of them care, right? Neither one of them care. Um, you know, I what's so crazy is I feel like I was like pro Biden before he decided to run. I didn't know much about Biden
Right.
until, only thing I knew was he was Obama's cool vice president.
Right.
That's all I knew. I didn't really know much about him. But then so much stuff started to come out about him. I didn't know that he like wrote the what is it? The crime bill. I didn't know he was like one of the main people behind it. I didn't know that basically he's a huge racist. I didn't know those things, right? And so now it almost feels like, to me, I don't know. It's like you have Trump, who is a public crazy person, and then you have Biden, who is like secret. So It's kind of like I don't know at this point. I really don't know, because I really, really, really feel like we are picking from two evils. I really, that's how I feel. I don't feel that not Bernie. Like I see somebody say Bernie. Yes, Bernie, but we didn't come through for Bernie. So now Bernie's out of here. But you know, honestly, I just feel like neither one of them have our best interests. And I really wish that people realize that regardless of who's in office, you have to do what you need to do for yourself. It doesn't matter whether it's a Republican. It doesn't matter whether it's a Democrat. Yes. And then, you know, people that's like, oh, I don't want to pay more taxes, who are like, oh, I want to, you know, stick with Republicans, you know, because I don't want to pay more taxes. The reality is, let's say like Bernie, why do I keep saying Bernie? You threw me off with Bernie. Biden wants to change like the corporate tax structure from the tax percentage from 21 to 28%. And it's really like that. I don't, you know, from a tax perspective, he's going to change. I'm not going to lie. Trump has some really great tax laws, you know, but I don't know what else he's going to go in and change. Trump has a lot of laws that are in effect through 2025. So a lot of stuff is not as though he'll be able to come in and change everything immediately, but eventually, you know, there will be some changes. I don't know.
Right. So yeah, to cut off the politics, I just think that there's a lot more at stake than just worrying about, you know, not wanting to pay more taxes and things like that, because, you know, they're also allowed to appoint elected officials into office and things like that, which is super important too, because we want to continue that. I know Obama did that himself when he was in office. So, you know, it's just things to consider, but
absolutely.
Let's see what happens. He's definitely not going down. Not even Corona stopping him. So
I think that's a whole ploy. I think that's the whole ploy, because then he's like doing a thing like, oh yeah, there'll be a vaccine out soon. I'm like, who's taking that vaccine? I am not taking that vaccine.
Right.
I am not. You will not experiment on me, because it's like so convenient. Oh yes. First you have Corona, and then now after you have Corona, now you're like getting all healthy, and now you're gonna have like a vaccine. As soon as he starts saying vaccine, I'm like, oh no, he got some stockiness. I don't trust it. I don't trust politicians at all. I always feel like it's a ploy behind it. Like,
he's all about making a capital, so I will not be surprised. So let's get back to business, no pun intended.
Okay.
So let's talk about because I know a lot of folks are here for, you know, the business talk. Let's talk a little bit about the business structure. Let us know like what are important things to have in place when you start your business. Kind of walk us through the maybe 4 or 5 most important steps.
Okay, so 4 or 5 most important steps. Okay, one is when you're starting a business, and I know this is going to sound weird, but figuring out what that business is, right? Because a lot of people will have 5 different ideas, and then they try to put it all under one business, and it doesn't work like that. If you're doing real estate and then you are starting a clothing line, and do it, but it needs to be done correctly. And my advice for people, like I tell people all the time, when I first started working corporate, I owned a clothing boutique. And so at the time I was like, okay, I had a clothing boutique. I was working corporate. I had to study for my CPA exam. And then I also listed out the other things that I wanted to do in the future, which was like, I love real estate, love it. Want to be like a huge real estate developer one day. That's like primarily my reason for going into real estate private equity when I was in corporate, because I wanted to understand what they were doing from a corporate perspective. Because my goal has always, even in corporate, I'm like, I need to get this information and bring this back to us, so that we can do these things too and really understand things. So I knew I wanted, as I said, I had the clothing boutique. I was working corporate, being an accountant. Then I wanted to do my CPA. Then I wanted to do real estate. I also knew I like having parties. And so I literally was like, okay, what's first? Right? Because like someone said, that's my problem. The problem is that you can't do 2 things at 100%. Yeah. And I know everyone always talks about 7 streams of income, but the reality is I feel that you should find that one thing, and you should find 7 streams within that one thing, and then move on to another thing. Because the reality is a lot of people are not maximizing what they're already doing. Right? Like I could have, like when I first started my tax company, I just was like, okay, I do not want to do bookkeeping. I'm not doing bookkeeping because I do not like bookkeeping. However, I had to implement it because it was great for my clients, but then it also was another revenue stream for me. It was something that my clients needed, but at the same time, if I would have just said, you know what, I'm going to service small business owners, but I'm just going to do taxes. And my goal wasn't to really, really help people really maximize on their business and help them to that next level. I would have never considered bookkeeping. I would have never considered tax planning. Those things that's really going to help. I would have never considered. So that's my first thing. Figure out what your business is. Create an entity for that business. Open up a business bank account, right? So and let me just take it back to create an entity for it, right? So when I talk to my clients about creating entities, it really is a situation where we are analyzing and we're having a conversation about what your business is, what your investment strategy is, all of those things. And then we decide, right? Are you going to be a corporation? Are you going to be an LLC? How much revenue are you bringing in? Does it make sense for you to be a corporation, or does it make sense for you to be an LLC, right? All of those things matter, because at the end of the day, you have to sorry guys, my phone has 20%. Okay.
Yes.
Where's my charger? Oh,
and
so basically,
saving the live.
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. But all your entity structure is telling the IRS is how do you want to be taxed, right? That's the only thing that it's doing. So you have to be mindful of what structure is best for you. Another thing, that's really big is people, and it's hard. And I tell people all the time, because I don't come off and pretend like, oh my God, I always had it all together. When you start a business, it is very difficult not to commingle your money between your business and your personal, because when you're first starting, you're trying to figure it out. And the reality is your business doesn't have any capital. If, you didn't have a loan or you didn't have an investor, your business doesn't have any capital. So right there, you are now trying to take money from your personal, put it in, for your business and utilize. Now you got business expenses showing up in your personal. You got personal expenses showing up in your business side. And it takes a lot. Like, it took me about 1.5 years to finally get my business to a point where I was not commingling any of my money. And my business was my business and my personal was my personal. And so a lot of people will always ask me, well, how do I do that? What do I do? How do I get money into my business from, you know, my personal? And I tell them a simple transfer from your personal account to your business account, and making sure that all of your transactions are occurring on your business side. Right? If, let's just say I have some clients who is like, listen, I gave my money to this business, but I want my money back. Right? That's fine. You can put a loan on your business books, but still that transfer has to happen. If you're just putting the capital into your business and you transfer the money and you leave it, it's considered capital, right? However, if you transfer that money, but then you want that money back, then you'll just categorize it and look at it as a loan. So once your business starts making money, it's like, oh, my business owe me $20,000. Now they have to pay you back that $20,000 that you invested, right? But it really is all about the document trail and making sure that you are, you know, keeping some sort of record. That kind of goes to my next point about bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is so important. My communication about bookkeeping is going to start being a lot more detailed, because I feel that it's the one piece that will help you, that people don't want to spend money on, that they don't want to think about. And it's important. You can't, first of all, I always tell people, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. That's the reality. If you can't tell me, listen, I'm operating at this profit, like I was having a conversation, I was like, you know, when it comes to my business, and I've been in business, and honestly, I haven't been in business that long. I've been in business for 3 years. But my business has taken off and it has done very well. But it really is a situation where I can sit down and I can tell you, listen, I'm trying to spend this much on marketing for 2021, right? I'm trying to do this. This is how much revenue that I want to make. And then I work backwards, right? And so that's kind of like my next thing. Like, whatever your business is, work backwards to it. Because I see a lot of people who are like, I'm going to be a millionaire. But how are you going to get there? Right? You just think the $1 million is going to fall out the air. If you're saying, okay, listen, I want to make $1 million, you need to then break that down. If you sell a product, how much of that product do I need to sell in order to make $1 million? In order to do that, how much is it going to cost me to even buy the materials so that I can make the product, so that I can make I can make $1 million in revenue. Then from there, do you need employees? That's another thing. Stop being cheap. You need people to work in your business in order to push it forward. There's a lot of people that want to do everything themselves. So, you know, when you try to do everything yourselves, you're so focused on spending money on help that you don't realize that, like, for me, I get so tied down in my business, and that's why, like, I'm in the process of hiring like 3 new employees. And for me, it's like, I know I love you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys. But I cannot talk to every single person, right? Like right now in my business, that's what's happening. I'm talking to every single person, and it's limiting my business, because the reality is, when you're a business owner, and I'm an accountant, right? But there's still a creative aspect of it where you need to think about, okay, where do I need my business to go? What am I going to do? What services going to be implemented? What do I need to do in order for these services to get implemented? What's the process? How much money? Who do I need to hire? And you can't really think about those things. Like, for instance, I literally just like walked out of my office so that I can, you know, be here. And so, you know, to be on the live, but I literally was like on calls all day. And for me, it's like, wow, okay, now tonight I still need to figure out my process, right? Because now I have employees, and you guys have to realize, like, having employees and building a business is a lot of work. It's like having children, and nothing moves without you. Always think about your business like a newborn. Your newborn can't eat without you. It can't move without you. It can't do anything, right? And so you really want to really feed it and nurture it so that you're able to get to that next level where you're able to step back and really be the CEO. And that's what I tell so many people all the time, and my clients. That's the motto in my business. You don't have to be the CEO and the accountant. right? So that's where I come in. You don't need to be the CEO and the accountant, because the CEO's primary responsibility is growing their business.
Exactly.
It's not the bookkeeping, it's not the taxes, it's not the marketing, it's not the hiring, it's not the firing, you know, it's not all of those things. Your primary focus is to grow your business. And so I definitely, you know, as I posted that post the other day, and my focus is definitely going to start shifting. I mean, taxes is always going to be a part of the conversation, but I definitely need it to be a situation where I need people to really, really, I want us to start building real businesses.
Yes.
Right? Because we have a lot of hobbies, and
yes.
there's a lot of posts. Like the post that I definitely have to get into is the post of, is it minority women are the fastest growing entrepreneurs? Yeah, they're the fastest growing entrepreneurs, but are they the fastest? Do they have a share in the entrepreneur space that's really making money? Right? Are we really sustaining, you know, like, are we really sustaining these businesses that we are creating? No, we're not. Yeah. Because if you look at the other study, it's like 76% are operating at losses.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, I want us to get into the mindset of running real businesses. And the reality is, in order for us to really operate real businesses, we have to get to a point where we're not ignoring financials, that we understand what these documents are, because they run everything. Mm-hmm. There has never been a client going for a mortgage, going for a business loan, going for trying to get an investor to invest in their business, that did not need to provide a balance sheet and a profit and loss statement, that did not need to provide an agent accounts receivable report, as well as an agent accounts payable report, right? And so those things are important. And if you just, you know, go about life like, oh, I'm just going to bring money in and have money go out, you're never going to get anywhere. And we're going to continuously be operating hobbies where it's like, it sounds good. Mm-hmm. Let me start this business. Like, a business is hard work.
It's hard.
Like, you could spend, to my point earlier, you could take that same money and just give it to somebody and invest in a real business, you know, if you don't want to do the work and really understand financials. So for me, I need a marketing tag team person, because when it comes to marketing, that's another thing where I feel like people are crazy. Like, if you really look at a lot of, like, you know, businesses that market, a lot of money is spent on marketing.
Yeah.
I'm talking 20% of their revenue is spent on marketing, letting people know who they are. Mm-hmm. And the fact that, you know, a lot of small business owners want to do all, like, it's just so backwards to me. It's like, you want to create this beautiful product, but you don't want to spend any money on letting people know who it is, you know, who you are, or you don't want to spend money, you know, really looking into your books and analyzing those things. That's important. That's super important, because I have a client that, you know, she was making more money, right? So she was, let me not say make, she was bringing in more money. But the reality is that she wasn't taking home more money. And she thought she was, because she was bringing in more money. But the reality is, she had released a product line, and the same amount that she brung in was the same, like, percentage wise. Let's say if her sales went up 30%, her expenses went up 30% in the same relation to that product. So it's like, yeah, you may feel like you're making more money, but you're not really bringing home more money, and the product is not even yielding you a profit. So what are you going to do? Are you going to raise your prices? Are you going to try to find a cheaper manufacturer? And you can't really do that if you don't know your you know, if you don't know your books.
Exactly.
And so I'm very passionate about this.
Yeah.
Because I am tired. You don't understand, like, being in my position, you know, just sitting behind, and as I mentioned, I have almost 1,000 clients. So, and I am very hands-on, which honestly, when I seen that the other day, I was like, I don't know how I'm doing this. I mean, I have an amazing team. I am not a one-woman show. I have staff. But it really is, like, as I mentioned, I'm the one initially talking to all these people, right? But it really is a situation where I'm just tired of seeing us say things like, oh, we can't get loans. Oh, they don't give loans to us. It's
Mm-hmm.
not that they don't give loans to us. I actually had a conversation with someone, with a guy. Chase has a program specifically for minority business owners.
Yes.
And I was speaking to someone there, and he literally was like, if you have anybody that will qualify for this program where they like extend lines of credits, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like a whole program.
Yeah,
But
I think it's
again,
called Black Pathways or
yes,
something like that.
yes, yes, yes. It's called
Mm-hmm.
Black Pathways. So was talking to him, and he was just like, almost like, listen, I can't get a lot, like, I don't get a lot of people approved. And he doesn't get a lot of people approved. I know he didn't say it, but I knew why. Because their
Mm-hmm.
financials are in order. They
Right.
don't have taxes. Everyone wants, he did mention that a lot of people are writing off a lot, right? But you're writing off everything. You're seeking expenses that's probably not even real legitimate business expenses, but you
Right.
don't want to pay taxes. But then you want a loan. It's like, and I tell everybody, would you loan somebody money that tell you they don't have money? If somebody came to me and said, let me borrow $100,000, but I don't got no money, or I make negative $32,000 a year,
Right.
I'm not giving you my money.
Exactly.
It just doesn't make sense.
Right.
So it's really, it's definitely one of those things where it's a passion for me, and I'm super, super passionate about this because I need us, one, to stop playing small. I need us to understand financials and understand the importance of it. And I need us to really, really, really like get to a place where we can fluently just
Mm-hmm.
have a conversation about
Yeah.
financials.
I think from what I'm getting from everything you're saying, which is all amazing. Oh my God, you are like dropping gems right now. I'm like taking notes as you speak. So I hope everyone else is taking notes too. But I think everyone just needs to stop thinking about the end result so quickly, and we just need to like take a step back and look at what the structure of the business, like we're talking about right now, like what's the backbone of your business. It's not just the product that you're putting out there and your brand that you're putting out there. Like, how is it functioning? Like, that's the most important thing, because if you don't have a solid foundation, then you're going to crumble. You're not going to be able to take advantage of all of the resources that are out there for you, right? That's kind of like the gist of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I do think that the end goal needs to be in mind as well, right? Because like, I'm not saying, because I believe, and I'm not a big person to try to push people in big direction. Like, not every person is meant to be big business, right? Like, for me, I have a goal. Like, I feel like there are a ton of underserved small business owners, and I'm that person that I'm good with knowing I have 1,000 clients, and my goal next year is 2,500 clients, but I know what's gonna come with that. Right? Some people, and mind you, I had to slow down because I just felt like I was draining myself. I didn't feel the healthiest. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take a step back. I was, for like after July 15th, I slowed down. I blocked off my calendar for a little bit. I wasn't talking to people as much. But the reality is, some people may say, you know what? I'm okay with having 100 clients a year. And that's okay.
Right.
And that's okay. But at the same time, you should still understand if your clients are yielding you a profit, how much you need to charge. Are you working for free? I don't care who you are. Nobody should be working for free, right? So what do you need to charge? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely don't want to give off that I'm saying like, oh, everyone needs to be like, big business. But
Right.
at the same time, you need to still understand your business. I don't care how big or how small your business is, you need to understand your business.
Exactly. Agreed. I want to ask you real quick about the loans. You talked a little bit about using your personal finances to start your business, and in the beginning, kind of, just doing that back and forth transfer, which is not always recommended between accounts. But I want to ask, can you get, or do you suggest that people apply for like a smaller loan? Not, it doesn't have to necessarily be like 100,000, but maybe like, let's say 25,000, so they can get like that main, they can hire someone to start their books, since they're starting small, they can hire someone for marketing. Do you suggest that people do that? And how often do people get approved for those smaller business loans?
Okay, so this is my take on small, like and I just use 100,000. I like to use like whole numbers to make it easy because it's easier, for me to break it
Yeah.
down. So whatever it is for your business, if you can take a loan, and I'm a numbers person, right? So it has to make sense. And this goes again with sorry guys, I'm at 10%, so I should make it by the end of this by the end of this call. You guys can hear me? Okay. So, what I feel like when it comes to any type of business, you need to know your numbers. You need to understand, and that's why, it's so important to have a business plan in the beginning, right? When people are first starting out, right? It's one of those things where you need to have your business plan in order. But what your business plan does is it breaks down everything that that you spent, right? I mean, that you're going to spend, right? What's your projection? What is your marketing? How much do you need to spend? It makes you think through things that you ordinarily wouldn't think about. Right. And so that's why I love business plans, because it really does make you think about things, that you typically wouldn't think about. So what I feel when it comes to any type of loan, what's your interest rate? How long, when do you have to pay it back? When is it due?
Right.
And does it make sense for you? Right? Because let's just say hypothetically, you have the person that isn't charging what they need to charge, right? Let's say the cost of making their product is $10, but they are charging $15. Within that $15, they still need to pay people, they have to pay for marketing, they have to pay for all of this stuff, right? So therefore, in that instance, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And again, you're probably not charging enough for your product because you can't even afford to pay people. Like I have like a friend that I work with, and my whole goal, like she does a lot of my marketing, and her and I was having a conversation. I was like, you may need to raise your prices, because guess what? You need to be able to say to me, listen, this is how much I'm going to charge you. And you need to be able to live comfortably and be able to pay your employees. And if you can't do that, then you're not operating a business. You're operating as a sole proprietorship, right? It's just you, a one-man show. And if that's how you want to operate, fine. But if you're bringing people into the picture, you can't try to split what you need to take home with your employees. It doesn't work that way. And so I just feel like if the interest rate makes sense, if you can hire people, still release your product, and you can sustain your business, then absolutely you should do it. Because guess what? All extra money is leverage. Leverage just meaning you're taking this money and you're able to get where you're going faster, right? And we can use it as in real estate. Let's say you purchase a property. Let's just say you have $200,000 in your bank account, but you have a property that costs, I don't know, 150,000. Now you take your whole 150,000 and put it on this one property. Why would you do that when you can take this property, buy this property? I mean, get a mortgage on the property. Only have to put down between 3.5% to 20%, right? Even if it is 20%, put that down and then take that. Make rental income off of it, right? Again, but that also needs to be a calculation. I see a lot of people lose in real estate because people have this idea that everyone in real estate wins. That's not true. Do your numbers, right? But it all should make sense that you're able to pay these loans back, pay your people to do whatever it is that you need them to do, and sustain whatever it is you're doing. So for me, absolutely. Like, I feel like I put a ton into marketing, right? Like, if I put my marketing budget now may not be what it is in the future, right? Because I may get to a point where I'm like, you know what? Enough people know me and I'm okay with being referral based at that point, right? So I may not need to spend money on marketing. So that may be cut back. Or,
Right.
it's just different things. But again, it's about me knowing my business, knowing how much clients I want to have, knowing how, knowing where I want to go. And so I definitely think that if you have an opportunity to, get a loan in your business or get an investor that's going to make sense, because that's another thing, you should do it. You have to do what makes sense. But again, everything boils down to the numbers.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So we talked about business structure. So you mentioned figure out what your business is. What is your focus? Try to focus on one thing and create multiple streams off of that one thing. incorporate your business and create a business plan, separate your business from your personal finances,
Yes.
bookkeeping, and marketing. Is there anything
Yes.
else you want to add to our list today?
To our list, I think it's very important to know where you're going. Like, I know where I'm going. Like, I know one day I want to sell Brooks Alliance. I know that. I know that. Right. And so when it's important, and I know that, like, I want to franchise my business, like that's on my list of things to do. So because I know that, I'm heavy on my processes. Everything has to be documented. Everything, you know, like I'm so clear on where I'm going that I know what I need to do now. And that's key. That's key. And I'm patient with it because I know where I'm going. I know where I want, you know, what my goal is. Like I even, you know, said the other day, like I know how I want my clients to feel. Like I'm about to hire a whole client relationship manager because I know how I want my clients to feel. Like I want them to feel a certain way, you know? And so I just think that knowing where you're going, that's important.
Yeah.
That's super important.
Absolutely. Know where you're going, guys. So I think that's actually a really good way to wrap it up this evening. I want to thank you so much again for sharing your knowledge with us and your education.
No problem.
And all of your nuggets. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank everyone who tuned in. I hope you guys took a lot of information from this session because it definitely was full of so many goodies. I'm definitely going to save it on the live and then I'll put it up on the website and things like that. So yeah, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
You so much.
Thank you guys. So hi, Delise. It's my client. Thank you guys so much for having me. You know, follow me if you aren't already following me. Yeah, I'm gonna start really saying how I feel. I have Twitter now too. Follow me on Twitter, Miss Business 101. So that was actually my first tweet and it went viral. So I was like so excited.
I love it, yes.
I was so excited. But you know, it really is. It's a passion for me. Like I want to make sure that, you know, we are operating as businesses, and that's key. And we have to stop, you know, like trying to do things on the side and not do things properly. But yeah, so you'll definitely be hearing from me. You'll be like, there she go. But yeah, I am like, I'm passionate about this one.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Thank you for being so passionate, and thank you for bringing that passion to us and wanting to share that. It's super important to give back to our community. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. You are welcome.
All right, so stay safe and make sure you get some rest tonight, okay? Because we need more info.
Friday is crazy. I'm like, yeah, I get like a lot of rest on Friday. It's like my day off, but this week has been crazy. So some days it's crazy, some days it's not. It is what it is, right?
Yes. All right. Well, take care. Have a good night, and have a good night, everyone.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you again. I appreciate you.
Okay.
All right. Bye,
thank you. Bye.
All right. That's okay. All right, guys. Oh, I thought we were running out of minutes. I guess we have a few minutes left. I hope you guys enjoyed the live and enjoyed Miss Business, Shaquana Brooks. Definitely follow her, support her business, refer your clients. As you can see, she knows what she's talking about, and she really wants to, you know, help us and help the community and help us to thrive and succeed. So if you took anything from tonight's live, is that you need to get your ish in order with your business. So the live is going to be saved in my IG live, and I'll also be putting it up on the website pretty soon, and I'll share it with Shaquana as well, so she can, you know, put it up on her website, or, you know, however she does her clips and stuff like that. So thank you again, guys, so much. I really appreciate it. Don't forget, next week is week 4, and we're going to be talking about public speaking, I believe. Yes, public speaking. So definitely another important session. Tune in and go on our Eventbrite link. All right. Thank you so much for supporting, guys. Have a good night.